1, 2. Simkin. Who hates Simkin? She hates Simkin. He hates Simkin. I hate Simkin. You hate Simkin. She hates Simkin. We hate Simkin. Who hates Simkin? I hate Simkin. They hate Simkin.
I have a law degree. I have an undergrad degree. I think I'm generally considered to be a relatively intelligent person. Having said that, I'm also capable of incredible stupidity. I had a pen. In fact, I think it was this pen right here that I'm holding. And being the obsessive compulsive nut that I am, I was clicking it. You're all going to have to deal with me, the idiot, clicking the pen. I think you'll enjoy the episode anyway. We have a long history, Louise and I. I even get all teary at the end. I get all teared up, when I'm telling Louise how much she means to me. So hopefully I wasn't clicking the whole time through that. Louise, I just want to tell you that you mean so much to me as I click the pen like a fucking idiot. Okay, that's all I got. Enjoy the episode. I think you're going to dig it. Hello, everybody. This is Jonathan Simkin from 604 Records. I said that like it was exciting.
Is this a radio show or what's
Yeah, I know. It sounds like it. Yeah. This is Jonathan Simkin from 604 Records.
You're definitely an AM kind of guy.
I am an AM kind of guy. This is an episode of I Hate Simkin, and I am very happy to have my friend and client and I don't know what other nouns to use, but somebody I've known for a long time, Louise Burns, from her new home. Do you care if people know where you live, more or less, or do you not want?
I don't care. No, it's fine.
Well, Louise just recently moved to the island.
I did. Yeah.
And how long have you been there?
I've been here just over a week. I'm in the Cowichan Valley.
Very nice. And so what room is that, like in your new house?
This is my downstairs bedroom, which I'm converting into a partial studio, sort of like a writing studio. Right now, it is not. It is just a big room with a bunch of my stuff, my gear on the ground.
Yep.
I'm surrounded by guitars in their cases and hard drives and God knows what in boxes I haven't seen in months. But this will eventually be like my studio. I'm just going to call it my studio because that's my hope and my dream.
Very nice. And it's funny. I did a podcast, not I Hate Simkin, but the other one we do, Versus, with the Armchair Cynics guys. I made this comment about how the island to me is like this big mystery. Like, because like people can kind of hide out there in places, not be seen by civilized society. And so you get all sorts of weird like Wiccans and Hell's Angels.
I mean, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just weird, or just regular weirdos like you. But
yeah.
And it got such a reaction. I don't know if you saw that clip. It got such a reaction. It was insane. It was like, I think the biggest reacting clip. And it was like, and a lot of people were like pissed off. Hey, well, you, if you don't like the island, don't come. And I was like, I never said I didn't like the island. I just said, I love the island. I was just like,
yeah,
it's just sort of a statement of fact that there's some alternative lifestyles being led there.
It really is. That's why I really love it. I've always loved the island. It's a really magical place to me. I think you can find every aspect of civilization here, depending on where you're looking. You can find the deep recluses, and you can find really, you can find all the culture you need in Victoria. You can easily get anywhere from here. It's a nature reserve. Everywhere you look seems to be like just beauty and gorgeous views. And yeah, I'm a deep weirdo. I seem to find myself here, obviously, but it's a really, really cool, interesting place. And the more time I spend here in different parts, the more I'm like, didn't know that was here. And there's like a lot of interesting stereotypes I'm starting to like put together, like, old musicians, young musicians. Like, I just sort of can see my future here.
Well, okay, so let's go through
pretty weird.
Let's go through the checklist. Are you a Wiccan?
I don't know. I'm kind of, but like, I'm more a Wiccan than anything. But I also, I don't know. I don't really. I respect Wiccans, and I wouldn't call myself one, but like, I feel a kinship to it.
Are you a Hell's Angel?
No.
Or
No.
do you run a grow up?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, there you go. So listen, I have known Louise. I should have done the math before I started this, but let's just say it's a long time. But
Almost 3 decades. It's about 26 years.
here's what I know for sure. When I met you, there was no 604. That kind of happened shortly after I met you.
Mm-hmm.
So and 604 started basically 2001. Was it the 90s? Is that possible? 99?
I was just thinking about this because I found a bunch of diary entries from that time in my life because my parents dropped all of my stuff here from my childhood. And I think it goes back, I want to say it's 1999 that I first met you, but I think it's actually the year 2000. I think it was actually 2000. But those 2 years are a blur. I was 14 years old. I have no idea what was going on, but yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. So Louise was if I'd say, I guess a young woman, you would say, a 14-year-old young woman who was at that time living in Cranbrook.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I got to know Louise way, way, way back when was, before 604 started, I was just a lawyer. And at that time, I made a living getting bands record deals. That's when the business was very different. These days, unless you already have blown up on TikTok or have some social media thing going, it's very unlikely to get signed. But back then, shocking as it sounds now, people got signed just because people believed in them. They heard a band, they heard a song, said, geez, I think that's really good. I'm going to sign them and put it out, and let's see if the world likes it as much as I do. So I got a demo from your band, which at first was called Tiger Lily. Mm-hmm. I still have that demo. It's a funny little black and white sort of picture in a little white sleeve.
Yeah, shot at the movie theater.
Oh, is that right?
Shout out Landmark Cinemas in Cranbrook, Tamarack Center.
Nice. Tamarack Center. I remember Tamarack Center because there was a Claire's there. I don't know why I remember that.
Still is. It's iconic. Anna Winners.
Anna Winners, yeah. And so, I get this demo and I listened to everything that came in and I listened to it and it was good, quite good. And I remember my first thought, then I sort of read the little blurb and it was like 12 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old, and 16. I think it was something like that because Sierra's younger than you.
Yeah.
And Lacey and Tash were a little bit older than you.
Tash is a couple months older than me, and Lacey, I think, is 1 or 2 years older than me.
Right.
I can never remember because she looks younger than all of us. She's just ageless, but I think that she's a bit too old, 2 years older. Yeah.
So I remember looking at it, listening to it, and thinking the songs are good. And I remember we all thought in my office, we were like, there's no way these young women wrote these songs. They're the songs because they were so good, and it just seems so strange. Like these 4 teenage girls from Cranbrook are, cranking out this sort of interesting music. And I think we had theories like, I think we somehow figured out that Monty, even the Tasha and Lacey's dad, had been a musician. So I know there was a working theory that he wrote the songs initially.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet.
But we sort of had a few calls. I remember having a couple of conference calls with you and your parents and everybody's parents. We decided, hey, you know what? Let's maybe take a shot on this. So I hired Dave Genn and Brad McGivern to do a couple of, I think take those same songs that were on that demo and sort of do better versions of them. We did it at Greenhouse in Burnaby. I think I got spec time from the studio because I didn't have a label. It wasn't like I was signing you. I just was like, I think these young women are great. So, and then you came to Vancouver and you recorded at Greenhouse. I have murky memories of that. What are your memories of that, of like that first time in a real recording studio? No disrespect to Lowell. I'm sure that's a real recording studio, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, everyone we met was a celebrity to us. Like every single person that walked in that room, I was like, well, I've just met so-and-so from Battlestar Galactica or whatever. And every band we met, we bought their CD, and our parents would, and we would just hold it like this. Oh my God, this is so cool. And it felt like it just felt crazy to us. But at the same time, we were also, what's the word? Deranged. We just like knew this was going to happen to us. So we were like, of course we're here. Which is funny because it's so naive, because it is really, truly insane that we made our way to just even to recording Greenhouse Studios from where we came from. But yeah, I remember just like the smell of a studio, that sort of like, it's like heated up electronics mixed with coffee. It's like such a specific smell, and I still love it to this day. And being just blown away by literally everything. I mean, I think Joey Moy was engineering those sessions, wasn't he?
Wow. I don't remember that. He very well could have been, because he was, of course, for those who don't know.
Because Brad was too, but I'm pretty sure that's where we met Joey Moy for the first time.
Oh, isn't that funny? I forgot that. For those who might not know, Joey Moy now has become, I think I could say, the most successful country music producer in the world. Morgan Wallen, Florida Georgia Line, Hardy. And that was sort of the home base of like Chad Kruger and Joey Moy and, Greenhouse Studio. Funny enough, the console that you recorded that on is now in the 604 studio.
Yeah, that's so crazy.
Crazy, because that's the world famous Little Mountain. And then, so, we do this, we record a few songs. I'm trying to remember what songs are on there. 24/7.
Falling Uphill.
Oh, yeah. And it was on the
Quicksand?
Yeah, that's exactly, I think, what it was. I think it was those three songs.
Was it Quicksand? Yeah, it must have been Quicksand.
Yeah,
I can't remember, which is so crazy. I mean, I was 14 years old, so it's actually really hard to remember some details like that. I remember watching Titanic with Holly McFarland. That's like the kind of I remember.
At the studio?
Yeah, Holly and us were watching Titanic, and we were just like, this is the coolest woman I've ever met. And just really, those are like the ones that really stick with me, because of course, we met Len. Those are the things you remember when you're 14. You don't remember the console it was. You're like, I met a celebrity today, and like I got to sing in a really cool microphone or whatever.
Well, I remember a lot of giggling.
Yeah.
That I remember for sure. And you guys were so unusual in a way, because you were all friends for a long time before I even met you. And so you kind of had your own, what's the sociological term they use? Argo? What do you have, your own way of talking? And there was like all these funny goss and gooch. And I remember all these words that like, and then of course, eventually I learned them all and I started using them as well.
I was just talking to my partner about this, because my partner, I also grew up with him. We all grew up in the same small town. And he was mentioning how even when we were at school together, he's like, you and Tasha were always speaking this language, using words that no one had ever heard before. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Sorry,
that's the best thing.
I'm not going to name your partner, because that's up to you to do. But you knew him in Cranbrook? Why did I not know that?
I think you did. Yeah. We grew up together.
What?
Since I was like 3 years old. Yeah.
Jeez,
we met in Music for Young Children, taught by the late Wendy Kimo, who is no longer with us, but very much connected by Cranbrook and music. Yeah.
So we make this demo, and I send it out. I do what I do. I sent it out everywhere, and I'll be damned. We got some interest pretty quickly, and the biggest interest was from Maverick Records, which is Madonna's label. Or at least it was, I guess not anymore. And at that time, it was well known for Alanis Morissette, because they had put out A Jagged Little Pill, which of course, mega, one of the biggest selling albums of all time. Next thing we know, we're on a plane flying to LA to showcase in the Maverick offices. And I have a lot of weird memories about that weekend. I remember that I also had a showcase for Dan Powder at Rick Rubin's house. And I think it was like a Saturday, Sunday. Like I think Saturday I showcased with Dan Powder at Rick Rubin's home, which itself, I won't even get into that story. That's such a crazy story. But then the next day we showcased at Maverick, like right in their offices. Now I can't remember who was there. Was Madonna there that day? I know we met her. I can't remember if we met her that day.
No, she She was there later. They played a trick on us, and it was we met her on the trip. We came down to meet with producers, and they said, "Oh, we have a producer upstairs. We want you to meet." And it was Madonna. It was like a surprise. So the first time we performed for them, though, I mean, Russ was definitely there. Russ Rieger.
And it's funny because without getting too much into his business, like the Dan Powder showcase did not go well, and then yours was like devastatingly successful. Like, I think you guys were so young. You were too young to be nervous.
Yeah, we didn't know what's going on. Like, there's no way you have, coming from Cranbrook, BC, before the internet, before social media, we had access to much music. We had access to EK radio. We didn't really even understand how big Madonna was. Like, that's the level of naivety that we had, which was a wonderful blessing, because we knew it was a very big deal. We knew that it was a very big deal. And we knew we were nervous because we knew that we had to really do well because our dreams depended on it. But I don't think we understood who the people in the room were, which is really why it made us a little bit just really capable of doing anything. If we were like performing in front of, our idols like Hanson at the time, it would have been a disaster, but we didn't know who Guy Oseary was. And now, knowing who he is, it's a much different context, I guess you could say.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember they offered us a deal on the spot, like basically said, well, we love you. We'd love to have you work with us. And I think a contract showed up a couple of weeks later, and next thing you knew, we were signed. And boy, none of us really knew what the hell we were getting into in a way. It was one of the first bands I ever managed. And, it was, and by the way, we do have a picture of you guys with Madonna because it's hanging in our kitchen. It's funny, to this day, I'm kind of kicking myself because I took the picture. It's like, God damn it, I should have been in the picture. But still, it's funny. I mean, it's you look at it and it's just it's surreal.
Weird. It's just weird. Yeah, that's crazy.
And we didn't really have much interaction with her. I think that may have been the only time we all met her.
I think it was, and she was really nice. I do remember people. There's always speculation of Madonna being like this very like curt person and not really having time for people and treating people just sort of like not overly nice or whatever, but she was just so nice to us, and she was so generous with her time, and I think she met us on our level, which is a really rare thing for us as kids. We were children, and people often wouldn't meet us on our own level, which was like, let's talk about, babysit my daughter. When it become babysit, like that's the kind of stuff that we know how to talk about. I really appreciated that, especially in retrospect, because talking to 40-year-old men about contracts and mechanicals and publishing, we're like, I don't know what that means. I'm 14. Let's talk about babysitting. Let's talk about, that stuff. So that was a really big thing. We felt very comfortable after we had a meeting with her there, and we felt taken care of. Unfortunately, I don't think it really ended up working out that way for us, but at least initially we felt that connection.
Well, I think for all of us, myself included, it was a crash course in, kind of the best and the worst of the business. Some great things, some horrible things, some stuff that looking back, I have a lot of trouble even. I mean, we'll get into a little bit of this, but just keeping it in chronological order, I think they flew us back to meet with producers. The funniest memory I have is we met with David Foster.
It does, yes.
Do you remember that meeting? Do you remember what Tasha said? So we're sitting there going, and it was funny because, I knew who David Foster was, but you guys didn't. And why would you, right? I mean, he was producing stuff that didn't matter to you at that time, like, Chicago during their kind of schmaltzy phase and,
and Celine Dion. And like now it's amazing to talk about, but back then we're like, Celine Dion.
So no. Tasha says to him, have you produced anybody that we know? And he says, well, I did produce Celine Dion, and Tasha didn't miss a beat. Here's what she said. Ew. And the meeting was kind of over at that point. That was kind of it. Like, it's like, oh, okay, I got to do. I'm out of here.
I remember he was wearing a tracksuit as well. That was my big takeaway.
Isn't that funny? I remember that too. Isn't that weird? Like an expensive LA kind of tracksuit.
Yeah.
Like
everyone in LA, they all had the same cologne as well. I don't know what it was. I still to this day don't know. Everyone smelled the same. It was so specific.
Well, he was a nice man. It was not a match. And we ended up working, I think, first with a guy named John Shanks. And that was rough. Like, that was a rough experience, more so for some than for others. The thing is, you know, when they wanted to sign us, Maverick was saying all the right things. Oh, we love you as writers. You guys are such good writers. And that's such a bonus. Like, you're not one of these girl groups who doesn't write. And, you know, they really made us feel like they were signing us largely because you were such good writers, which is certainly why I was interested in the first place. But boy, as soon as we got into that studio, that kind of changed. And I was never sure, even to this day, was that driven by John Shanks? Was that driven by Maverick? You know, did Maverick kind of tell Shanks, don't worry about their writing, just, you know, go write some hits? Because my memories are not pleasant from that. We were in Henson's studio, which was that studio that Charlie Chaplin built, you know, in like 1910. And then Henson, because of Jim Henson of the Muppets, because it ended up being the Muppet studio. And I think it was A&M studio for a while too, before it was Henson. But regardless, beautiful studio in LA, like great studio. And I remember during the time we were there, you know, we saw Jacob Dylan, Bob Dylan's son. I think Paul McCartney was there when we were there. Barry Manilow, because I remember we were pulling out of the parking lot one day and there's Barry Manilow. And Barry. I rolled down the window. It's like, Barry.
I remember that.
And he was wearing all powder blue, this powder blue suit. And, you know, so it was heady. Like, we were meeting people and it was wild. But, because I'd been in the business for a while and I'd had some success, but even by my standards, I mean, that was like, I'm meeting people I never would have imagined. And this is before Nickelback blew up, just before they blew up. So, you know, my biggest experiences were like Len and Matthew Goodband and Holly McNarland, which were all great experiences, but it didn't really prepare me for sort of a lot of what we sort of encountered there. The most vivid memory I have from Shanks is showing up one day and Tasha and Shanks were arguing and Tasha was crying. I asked what the hell was going on. I was very protective of you guys, and I you know, it's kind of like a little bit manager, a little bit dad, like, and I got right in his face. And I remember calling Russ Rieger right away and saying, what the f- is going on? Who have you set us up with? What is this? And we somehow worked through it, but it was devastating in a way for you guys, or at least for Tasha for sure. Because it's like, hold on a sec. I thought you signed us because you liked our music. Why are you making us work with somebody else?
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is fast forward another 10 years from there, 12 years. And, you know, I signed Carly Rae Jepsen. I was managing Carly and, you know, Call Me Maybe blew up and all that. And John Shanks got a hold of me because he wanted to work with Carly. And he was like, you know, I hope it's all water under the bridge. I was like, no, it's not water under the bridge. And I hung up on him, I believe. Like, I wanted nothing to do with that guy at that point. Listen, he might be the nicest guy in the world. I don't know. I don't know John Shanks very well. I just know that first experience was brutal. And we got a few songs out of it. It wasn't like it was a complete waste of time. I think Maverick kind of learned a bit of a lesson there too. And we went from Shanks, I think, to Mark Tanner, because I think Russ was like, listen, Mark's very user-friendly. He will not try and impose his writing on you. He might want to write with you, but, and it's true. Like, I like Mark. Mark's a very sweet man. I'm not sure if the music was amazing that we made with him, but at least it was a pleasant experience and we all liked him. And, you know, one of the memories I have about Mark is 9/11 happened when we were in LA on that recording trip. And I had just flown in from Toronto on American Airlines. So putting that aside, what I remember about that day was I called Tanner and said, well, what do you want to do? And he said, might as well work. Why not? And we were all staying in the Oakwoods, which, yeah, you're laughing, you're smiling when I say for those of you who don't know, the Oakwoods is like where they put child celebrities and child stars. Like I remember Frankie Muniz from
Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle was staying there. Was Hilary Duff staying there?
Yeah.
Hilary Duff was there.
A lot of kid actors. Headshots. There was like a little convenience store near the check-in, and there was like headshots of child actors everywhere. It was a real scene. And there's, I believe it's a documentary made about Oakwoods. Isn't it where John Belushi died as well?
Oh, I don't know.
The Oakwood Apartments?
That's interesting.
It's like a really crazy place. And that was
crazy place sort of in Burbank. And so we, usually to get to that studio, at that point we were working at Cherokee Studio, and which famous studio in sort of Fairfax and
Melrose.
Thank you, in Melrose. And great old studio, the Robb brothers. Remember them? The Robb brothers.
I do. They were, and their sister Susan. I think her name was
right.
Susan.
Very nice,
amazing.
very pleasant to deal with. The sort of old school Hollywood sort of studio where like Steely Dan had recorded, Supertramp, and
Bowie. David Bowie recorded, I think, Station to Station maybe there, and Fleetwood Mac did some of I can't remember what record it was, but yeah, really cool studio.
It
really
was
cool.
wild. And I mean, I remember when we were there, Rod Stewart was there. And part of the reason I remember is because your mom was there too. And she was so, Rod Stewart. Oh my goodness. Like she was so like kind of blown away.
Her name is Maggie and she's British. It was just like
Maggie
the
May.
Perfect celebrity. That's right. And we saw Elliott Smith and the Pointer Sisters.
Oh, I was going to talk about that. And we saw, there were two kind of sad things we saw, but I'll keep with Rod Stewart for a sec. So at some point I had to go to the washroom.
Oh, I knew
and
this was
Rod
coming.
was coming out of do you remember this story? Rod was coming out of the washroom and it was like one of those old school urinals and it wouldn't flush properly. So like his pee was still in the urinal and I had to pee in it. And I remember coming out and there's your mom. And I said, guess what, Maggie? She's like, what? I just peed in Rod Stewart's pee.
She's never been more impressed.
But you're right. Elliott Smith, though, the Elliott Smith one is sad because he killed himself not long after that we saw him. And he was in rough shape when we saw him. I don't know how much you remember. What I remember was his father was there. And
his father was there? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. And it was like, you could tell there was concern about his health, just the way his father was kind of looking at him. And we all sat in one of those booths that they had in the sort of lounge. And I just happened to be really into that album XOXO at that point. And I was like, God, I hate asking any way you could autograph it. And he had this little black felt and he autographed. I still have it to this day. It's the saddest little signature. I mean, maybe I'm putting more into that because of what ended up happening. But like when I look at it, I get a little choked up because like, I literally think he was dead within a month or maybe two after that. And I remember him saying some pretty dark to you guys and me getting a bit concerned about it. Like, everybody in this business is going to take from you. Like, I just remember it got a little heavy and I had to kind of, it was, what's your memory? I'm just talking, but do you remember any of that?
Well, we didn't know who Elliott Smith was because of course we didn't. There's no way we would have found his music coming from where we did. So when he walked in, we're like, who is this person? We felt a little uneasy because he didn't look very good. He looked unwell. And I remember him having a very gentle presence. He was very gentle and he was you could tell he was like a harmless person. So we weren't afraid. We were just like, who is this? Like, I've never seen a person who looks like this before. He had braids.
Yeah.
He had sort of Willie Nelson style braids. Yep. I remember him sitting next to you. He just seemed very comfortable and like very, I don't know if I picked up on sadness. I think I just picked up on him being very like calm and sort of subdued and very gentle. I don't remember his dad being there, but that makes sense. And I don't remember any of the dark stuff he said to us. But at that point, we had heard a lot of things said to us in that contest. So it was like, maybe I just filed it somewhere and forgot that he had said it. But that makes sense. Very sad. In retrospect, of course, because I became a huge Elliott Smith fan. Looking back, I'm like, oh, if only I had known at the time. But what can you do?
Do you remember who we met the first night in Cherokee? We met a band. Do you remember who?
I remember reading Rick James, but I don't know.
We'll get to that, but that's not the first night. And it was kind of a bad scene, and I had to step in again.
Was it Crazy Town?
Sure was.
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? Schlitzy Shell Shock. Shifty Shell Shock. And he hit on Tasha.
Yeah.
And I had to get in the middle of it and kind of go, hey, dude, she's 15 years old. What are you doing?
This is funny because as I mentioned, my parents recently dropped off all my diaries and journals from when I was a kid, which I've been keeping in my parents' house for decades. And I was reading through it, and there's a diary entry about that. It's like the Shifty Seth, I think his name is Seth. Seth came by from Crazy Town, and he was really nice. He gave us his number. So they could call us if we ever want to
giving a bunch of 15-year-old girls his number.
He seemed a little lost, though. I know he showed us the song that he was working on with Estero. He showed us that before it came out. I don't remember the song name. Is it Seeing Stars?
Don't remember any of that.
And then we showed him our music, and he was nice about it. Like, he was very nice to us, and like in retrospect, I can see how that was inappropriate. But then we also like wrote, like, we always see him driving around the neighborhood all the time. We think he's doing loser laps, which is when someone just drives around with their windows down, system up. But he was really nice. I think the inappropriateness, it really just dawned on me like in the past 10 years. But yeah, I feel sad because I think he was very troubled, and obviously his life wasn't easy, and it's very sad that
he died fairly like maybe 5 years ago or something.
I don't even know if it was that. I think it was like 2 years ago. But yeah, and I should be careful.
I mean, number one, I don't want to speak ill of the dead, and number two, it's not like he crossed a big line.
He never did. No. I think he was. He just seemed. I think he just didn't realize. I know, to be honest.
How old you were?
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. So yeah, I want to be careful about that. Now, Rick James. We also met Rick James, and that one was sad too, because he had just had a stroke, and I remember he was like had canes, or he had he had a cane. Yeah, he had a cane and looked like he was in pretty rough shape. He was very pleasant, but he also looked like he was in rough shape, and I don't think he lasted much longer after. I guess maybe we were bad luck to people in Hollywood.
Honestly, like what? I remember Rick James being just so like jovial, just like so like ladies. And he took a picture with us. Yep. He was so like very generous with his time. He didn't really have like an ego. He was just like, let's hang out. He was kind of like fun that way. But yeah, again, we didn't know who he was when he walked in. We knew his music, but we would have never put the two together because, again, like we knew who Hanson and the Beatles were and like Destiny's Child, and that's it.
And Thin Lizzy.
And Thin Lizzy.
Because of Monty.
Right, yeah. Exactly. Thin Lizzy, yeah. Mm-hmm. And Bob Dylan. So now here's where it gets confusing for me. And I sort of made a point of not going back and doing all the research because part of it I wanted to see how much you could remember. But so the hit on that first record was It's About Time. And that was with the Matrix. The Matrix. Mm-hmm.
And just to give everybody a little context. So because the band were all like minors, my wife, Jennifer, who's also a lawyer, and was sort of managing with me, we would have to take turns because I was running a law practice. We were running a law practice. And so either I would be in LA with you guys or she would be in LA with you guys. And she was in LA for that one because I don't remember anything. I don't think I was at the Matrix house. I didn't meet them. I don't know. What's your memory of that experience, the Matrix?
They were great. They were super nice. They were really, again, like Lauren Christie, the main lyricist and melody writer of the Matrix as a trio, as they were known as. She met us on her level. Like she was really, really good at talking to us from the perspective that we had. She was really kind, very generous. I think there's a scene in the Katy Perry documentary that came out, I think 10 years ago, where Lauren Christie is in it and she's featured because she wrote with Katy Perry. They did before she found Max Martin or whoever, or Dr. Luke, yuck. But it was the same line that she gave us where it's like, I have drawers filled with beautiful poetry and no one will ever hear it because, you got to write a hit or whatever. And I remember watching that and being like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. So she was a businesswoman, but she was still she was very good at her job. You know what I mean? They were all really nice to us. They featured primarily my voice on It's About Time, which gave me a bias towards liking them. But, there was also a very classic experience which we had, which is that we would perform on the record. We would record our instruments and then they would be replaced and sent back to us. That happened a lot. And I understand it, especially as a producer now. Like if there's something unusable, you're not going to use it if the record label is paying you $200,000 to produce a track. I understand that. But I think at the time, it's really hard to be in the music business when you're a teenager. You just don't understand this stuff and it all feels personal. So I think the Matrix experience, we didn't want to work with them because we were blackmailed into working with them essentially by the label. But they were really great to work with. It was a very fun experience. And we recorded at their house, which was in Encino. They had a house just for recording. And Jennifer was there. She was with us, your wife. And she was taking all the pictures and hanging out. So like, the experience was great, but it just was like, again, like a lot of things. It's that sort of like the arrangement in which the situation has to happen is always a little bit dark. And then you get into it and it usually turns out okay. But it's just sort of like, if you don't work with the Matrix, we're going to drop you. If you don't lose weight, we're going to drop you. That kind of thing.
Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that in a second. Trust me.
I figured. Hot topic.
Hot topic. But I mean, they did deliver a top 20 hit.
Yeah, they did their jobs, right? And I think that's the weird thing where I can't reconcile sometimes the music industry because it's just so incredibly brutal, but it works when it works. And it often doesn't work, but when it works, it works. And I feel lucky to have experienced that moment. But yeah, it's interesting. I really do have fond memories of working with them. And it's just, again, we'll get into the context of everything that happened to us
after that. Yeah. And then the other producer I remember is Linda Perry.
Yeah.
And that was also Jennifer. That wasn't me. I was in Vancouver. Jennifer was there with you. And I remember Jennifer calling me and being a bit concerned because, and I might have this completely wrong. I wasn't there, but I think what she told me was she had made some speech to you guys about like, every band's got to have a front person, and very clearly Tasha's your front person, and she should be the focus, and she should be, so kind of like the reverse of like you saying the Matrix kind of favored your voice. She seemed to really favor Tasha's voice.
Yeah.
And I remember there were some weird feelings about that.
Yeah, I remember that too, because I remember, I don't know, again, when you're 16, you don't receive information very well. You know what I mean? You just don't receive that kind of information very well. So we were all very tired. I believe we were recording an acoustic version, or I don't remember how this happened, but I remember her being tired too. And I think she was a little frustrated with us. So she said, listen, the minute you let Tasha be the lead person, your lives are going to get easier and your band will be successful because there'll be a focal point and she's obviously it. And I think we were all so tired at that point. We'd been working for like 24 hours at that point, and we were like, all right, I don't know, like whatever you want to say. But it's such a different, she had a very different style of communicating and producing compared to the Matrix, compared to Mark Tanner. They all have their different approaches. And Linda's was a little bit more, it was very blunt. As teenagers, that was a little hard, a little stressful to listen to. And yeah, Jennifer definitely picked up that we were upset about it. But I do remember being so tired that I couldn't react to it in the moment.
Well, plus, there's the fact that the four of you grew up together. So there was whatever weird dynamics were already in that group. And there were some weird dynamics, like there always is.
Of course.
Teenage girls and teenage guys can be horrible to each other. And there was a bit of that, not to mention the extra weirdness of a sister dynamic. Because I think it was hard for Lacey, because I think she always felt like somehow Tasha was getting the attention and she was always second in line. And I'm the older sister. Why am I, second in line? And it was tough. Like, it was forgetting all the regular of the music business. There was also the extra added of what it's like working with a bunch of teenage girls, which you weren't doing anything wrong, but it's just, I wasn't an expert in teenage anything, let alone teenage women. Like, I was just like, oh my God.
It's funny because like the little things are what I remember fondly, and it's the big things and I'm like, that sucked. And the label says crazy things to you. That's what people are more interested, I think, really in listening to. But I think the things that I'm more excited about remembering are the little things, like walking to the movie theater every single night because we had nothing else to do, because we were underage living in San Francisco. all by ourselves. Like that was really fun. And I really loved that. But no one cares about this. We talk about that.
So is one of the little things that you remember that guy Cosmo, who when we walked into that store on Melrose and he was obsessed with you?
I think he was a really good businessman. I mean, you and I have both shared videos of him with each other. In the future, he's now sort of like a bit of a celebrity.
Yeah.
I think he always was in LA. He was just such an eccentric, I guess, like business owner and really interesting life. I mean, it makes sense now. I think I look back and I'm like, that was great. I wish I was his friend. I wish I was like bold enough to be that
Well, he
guy's
wanted
friend.
to be your friend. I remember, hey, honey, look at you. Look at your hips. You got hips like J-Lo. We got to get you some jeans to show off those hips.
I mean, I believe he's a gay man. I take that compliment very well coming from a gay man. That's great.
Oh,
I'm
I
pretty
thought it
sure
was
he is a gay
amazing.
man.
I thought it was
It's
funny.
an amazing compliment.
Yeah.
I'm like, thanks, I guess. Like, is this a compliment? I don't know.
Okay, so let's go to a bit of a darker sort of area. So we make the album. The album's ready to go. People are excited. Everybody thinks we've got a couple of hits. And then something pretty horrible happens. I get a call from Guy Oseri. They want to see me. And they basically said, not basically, they said, the girl's got to lose weight or we're not putting the record out.
Mhm.
I was like, what? They need to lose a few pounds or we're not going to put the record out. So, like, you can imagine, like, forget the music business. Any teenager, especially women, you already have such body image sort of issues just because of how society is about stuff like that. It's like, you already feel weird about everything when you're that age. You know, everybody's so obsessed with how they look and how they want to look and why does that person look better and why is that, you know. And to have the label actually just put it out there like that. I mean, number one, I don't think that would ever happen anymore. I mean, somebody might say, hey, you might want to lose a few, but I mean, maybe it happens, but to actually say we're not putting out the record.
Yeah.
And I remember having to call you guys and be like, I mean, to have to explain that to you when I didn't even understand it or you know, and it's a regret. I got to be honest with you, Louise. It's a regret for me. Like,
Yeah.
I look back on that and go, I should have told them to go themselves. But the world is a little different then. If it had been today, I would have said, I'm going to go to the press. I'm going to let people know what you've just said. No, nobody would have given a at that time, which is weird because it's not like it's 100 years ago. You know, it's not that long ago. But so, and I hate to say it because I don't want to, you know, we're talking about people who aren't here to express themselves. But I mean, I think the concern was more the sisters. I mean, you were skinny, you're skinny now, you were skinny then. And I think it was more the sisters. And for them to put them through that, I don't know, man. Like I have trouble with it even 22 years later or whatever. Like I really have trouble with it. And I'm really upset with myself for not having been more forceful back to them. I just didn't feel like we had any power. What was your what's your take on it all these years later?
I already had an eating disorder at that time. So for me, it was really triggering. I think even though I don't know if they were really, I hope they were talking about me because I had already done some work to myself. And for me, it was a really weird negative confirmation of this value system I created for myself where, you know, it was the 2000s. To be thin was how you got validated basically as a person in the entertainment industry. And I thought that it was really up. And I remember us all being really devastated, but also kind of just going, we were just like, of course this happened. Like we were at that point, I think a little sick of just how real it was getting. And I remember speaking to, I mean, it wasn't just that. They would pay for them to go on these crazy diets. They would pay for my gym pass. All of these things that really just enabled a bunch of teenage girls to develop some really pretty messed up, you know, thinking patterns around body image and body dysmorphia and eating disorders. And so many women go through this. So many men go through this, but particularly women in the entertainment industry. And it was a different time. And yes, of course, now you would have done something different. We all would have. But at the time, it just felt so expected almost, especially from conversations we had with producers who were saying like, oh, so-and-so had her label pay for her breast implants and so-and-so had a facelift or whatever. It was we were used to that rhetoric around changing your looks in order to sell records or succeed, that it was just like, of course this happened to us. But like what I do love about this story is, of course, the ladies were sent to a yoga fitness retreat, a beautiful place
in BC, right? It was in BC somewhere.
Yeah, I think it was in the West Kootenays. I can't remember where it was because I didn't go. They went, two of them. So it's their story to tell. But I think the best part of it was they came back in excellent shape. They looked great, but they hadn't lost a single pound because they were just like,
well, they were both beautiful girls. Like, it was stupid that they even
didn't need to lose any weight.
Of course not.
It was like so crazy, but like they came back looking excellent. Like they just looked great. They were toned. They were strong. And the whole thing was like, we're the same size we were before, but we're just in excellent shape now. So thanks. Like, it was just like this. We did it. We did what you asked us to, and we didn't technically lose weight. So now what, you know? So luckily we all got to move on, but it was just like, it was actually, we all had such a cute sense of humor about everything because we had to, that we all found that very funny. And there were times where they would reference things that had happened during their time at that fitness retreat that were really funny, and we'd sort of use it to get through things that were tough. So it was a really up thing, and it sucked. And luckily we were able to find some humor in it, and it turned out to be something that didn't, end up in them being unwell, because they could have gotten a lot of different, it's just such I find this topic really I'm very sensitive to it because I think it's such a taboo to talk about. People associate it with, people who are upper middle class who maybe have, daddy issues or whatever, but it's actually just, it can be triggered by anything. It can be particularly triggered though by seeking validation, especially when it's on such a big scale, like, selling records, getting dropped from your label. That does something to a teenage girl. It wouldn't affect me now. I'd be like, great, put me in a health resort. Awesome. Like, I'd love to get into shape like that. But without that context, like, don't tell me how I should look. And I think that's the things that really do stick with you and make a big impact on your personality, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, they got through it, thank God. And the label's like, okay, let's get this thing out. And we made a video for It's About Time, which I know you're going to love me saying this. You can see it online these days.
Yeah, that's right. The internet.
Yes.
You just found the internet. Congratulations.
Yes. Now, I have a few distinct memories about that video shoot. Part of it was shot in a studio. I remember that. And part of it was shot outside in sort of East LA, because I remember there were these buildings with all sorts of graffiti.
Boyle Heights, yeah.
And then the other, what was it called?
Boyle Heights.
Okay, right. That's right. But it's funny. I'm sure you remember this, or maybe you don't, but you're a big part of that. Well, everybody's a big part of that video, but because you sing a lot of the leads, there's that, I think it's at the beginning where you're walking down the street and there's a kid behind you with the boombox and it's kind of goofy, but like you're kind of, walking along singing a song. And while we were filming it, just some street dude came running at you. And then I came running out and like, I can't remember if I tackled him or just pushed him away.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was like scary as because it's like, was he going to stab her or something? It was weird. Like, just, I don't even know where he came from. Like, what kind of a set? I don't know. It was pretty weird. Like,
I remember I provoked it because he was catcalling us.
Oh.
And I was like, fuck you, because I don't know how cities work yet at this point. And, it's probably not the smartest move.
Probably not.
Yell.
Probably not.
Maybe that was my fault. The whole thing was my fault. But yeah, I remember you bum rushing him and him being like, realizing he was surrounded by a film crew of 50 people and be like, okay.
Yeah. Better back off.
This isn't going to work. Mm-hmm.
And then, the song comes out and it does well. I mean, and that was interesting because, you guys did, you did MTV stuff. I remember you flew off to do that weird thing with MTV. I can't remember what it was. Do you remember
We did
that?
a lot of weird things with MTV. We did a dating show with MTV.
Right.
We did the beach house, the Hamptons beach house twice. We did, gosh, I think we did TRL.
I think you
remember
did
us
too.
flying
Yeah.
Yeah, we took a red eye from Vancouver to New York the day our record came out to do TRL, I think. But
Oh yeah, because you
when
guys.
Carson Daly was the host, he was a really nice guy.
I remember that because you guys had a CD release party in Vancouver and literally went from the CD release party to the airport.
To the airport, yeah.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think of the other stuff like in the wake of that single. I remember we did Wango Tango in LA.
We did a lot of like Nickelodeon stuff. We did a lot of Disney stuff. We did a lot of movie premieres. We were attending all of the Matrix movie premieres. I don't know why, but we were attending all those premieres and Freaky Friday placement, 13 going on 30.
Well, let's talk about Freaky Friday, and in part because that's back in the news, that movie. But so we had a song placed in it. It was a cover of the Romantics' "What I Like About You." And you guys got to do a video in Toronto, if I remember correctly, with Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
Which is
That's
funny,
right?
right? Because like I looked at that fairly recently and I was just like, it doesn't seem real. Like it just doesn't seem like it really, not because it was so great, but just because you look at it and kind of go, was that my life? Was that us? Did that really happen? And it did really happen. And then I remember going to the premiere of that movie and we had a chance to talk to Jamie Lee Curtis, who was very lovely. I remember was very encouraging to you guys. And then we went to an after party after the premiere and met Lindsay Lohan and some other celebrities who
Hilary Duff was there.
Hilary Duff
and
was there.
Lindsay was pissed because Chad Michael Murray was there, and there was a little triangle romance thing happening. And there was a few other people. There's a lot of people actually that sometimes I'll see an actor on a show. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to party with that person. I forget their name. Lindsay was really nice though. She was incredibly smart and she was really fun and outgoing. And she gave me her email and she was just a really lovely person. I think just probably went through some crazy times due to a lot of her family, I want to say. I don't really know why, but she's back and she's doing great. We're happy for her. We love Lindsay.
You know, I have to be really honest with you. My memories of the second album are a lot murkier than my memories of the first. I don't know why that is. I mean, a few things happened. You had a drummer. First of all, we had Sierra. That was the original drummer. And unfortunately, we sort of hit a point with her where it just wasn't working. Also, a pretty heartbreaking sort of part of this story for me. Like having to call her parents and explain it. But it was one of those things where like, she's a lovely, I don't know her anymore, but she was a lovely young woman, but she couldn't really drum. And so we couldn't use her in the studio. We couldn't use her live. So at that point, what are you doing? I mean, it just didn't make sense. And I think part of it was she was a bit more of like a punk rocker, like in her mind. And I think it was hard for her to deal with pop and all the sort of pop sensibilities of Lillix. And
well, I think we also were like a very small unit of like the three of us were like sisters, and I actually grew very close with Kim, and I love Kim to this day. But I think it was probably annoying for her to be around because we were a lot younger and very like in on our weird inside jokes, and I think that was probably probably got a little boring to her.
So you still talk to her?
Yeah, sometimes, on Instagram. And I used to see her when she lived in Vancouver, but she's in Squamish now.
Oh, what is she doing?
She has 2 kids. She was doing hair, and I haven't spoken to her recently, but I think that's like living the good life, away from the big city.
Okay, and then we ended up hiring Alicia Warrington. What I remember doing auditions at that rehearsal space in Vancouver. I can't remember how the auditions led to Alicia. Did she come for the auditions? I don't remember.
Yeah, she came to Vancouver. Yeah.
Okay, we all really liked her. I still like her. I mean, Alicia's a good person and
she's the best, yeah.
Has recreated herself as like in the world of wrestling of all things. I think she's part of TNT Wrestling. Is that what it is?
She's on WWE. She's like in the big league. It's a big deal. She is like in the ring announcing right now, and she's live on NXT every Monday. She's doing incredible. Like she's amazing, but she's She's literally good at everything she does. So no one is surprised, but yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I lost touch with her a bit, like we were staying in touch, but tell me this, because I swear to you, I cannot remember for the life of me who produced the second album.
Oh, so we worked with Phillips. I'm saying Philip Steer again, but it wasn't Philip Steer. Jeff Saltzman and
Jeff Saltzman. Oh my God.
Yeah. And James Michael.
Okay, so Jeff Saltzman, for those who don't know, James is actually a manager and I think a lawyer, and I think he was Green Day's first manager.
Jeff was, yeah.
And then they had a falling, I don't know if it was a falling out, but they separated. And then he became a producer, and he actually had some success because he did the Killers record.
Yeah.
But it's funny, my memories are, I remember we were recording at Greenhouse again in Vancouver, but boy, I don't have a lot of recollection of that experience.
I remember a lot of Jeff and I going out for wine, going out for dinner, taking a break. It got really tense and very stressful during the second record. Michael Urbano played drums. He's the drummer from Smash Mouth. We had Charlie Quintana, the late Charlie, play on one of the songs, who was a sweetheart.
Yes.
But we were having some interpersonal problems that day, the band was, and I remember feeling really bad because I felt like I didn't want to waste his time because I'm like, you're a big deal. Like, what are you doing here? And same with Michael, who really came out to Vancouver and spent lots of time with us. But we were falling apart as a band at that time as well. So it was a really tough record to make for us. Also knowing that our label was just not really behind us anymore, and not that interested in giving us what we needed in order to make a great record. Yeah, and we also wrote with Billy Steinberg for that record, which is a big deal. He was hilarious. I remember his assistant Josh as well. They've both gone on to write big songs, though Billy Steinberg's always written huge songs, like A Virgin, I Touch Myself, Eternal Flame. Like, he's a legend. I sing Eternal Flame to my daughter every night. He's amazing. And that was really cool because it was like, again, that being around people who sort of like emit success is a big trip. We met with Matthew Sweet.
I was going to bring that one up because boy, I remember that
crazy
night
day.
Like it was yesterday.
A wild day.
So we had a new A&R guy again. It was Kevin Williamson. And
Kevin, that's right.
Who I'm still in touch with from time to time. Like Kevin's a good dude. And he had just done that beautiful Diorama, that album.
Matthew Sweet did that?
No, Kevin Williamson A&R'd it.
Oh.
Which I love. Right. That's one of my favorite. I love that album so much.
Great record. I love that.
But I remember, so we drive up to the Hollywood Hills to meet with Matthew Sweet. And it was peculiar. He was peculiar. His wife was there and she was like not enjoying it. Like it was maybe they had just had a fight.
I think she just received some really bad news on the phone. I remember that.
Is that what it was?
I remember she had received some really bad news. I don't know what it was, but she had she had to excuse herself because something was up.
Here's what I remember. I remember Matthew said, anybody want to get high?
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
I can never say no. So of course I said yes.
Neither could we at the time.
I couldn't remember. How old are you? Is this a scandal now?
I don't know. I have no idea. I was like 18 or 19. Was it ever a scandal? Is it now? I don't know how things work in the States.
I don't know. But
no idea.
What I remember was I got way too high. And all of a sudden it's like, where the am I? I'm in this weird house in the middle, like in the Hollywood Hills with Matthew Sweet, who, God bless him, talented guy, but he was like weird. And he was making pottery. And so he kept disappearing. Like we're all high and trying to talk. And he'd be like, oh, I gotta go. And he would run out to the pool where he had a kiln, the pottery kiln, and was like tending to his pottery. And then the wife would come in and she was upset about something. And I just remember that being like like
that was because you were high. I remember him being cool. I remember being like, this is what it is to live as an artist and have your pottery in your backyard and your cool wife, though she's having a bad day. I remember him just being like living this, and he had like a really cool, like mid-century modern sort of like 70s shag carpet mixed in together, like this really interesting house that was like a real time capsule. And it was covered in pictures. What's the artist? I can't remember his name. He's famous for his big eyes, the big eye paintings.
Oh. Yeah, I know who you mean. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
No, I remember that. I remember the house was cool and there was a pool in the middle. Like, the house was sort of built around a pool. Like, no, it was cool. But like I said, it was just a little, and you're right. Like, I do remember at that point, I think the band, it wasn't just that you were falling apart, but there was definitely a lot of feeling of like, we were pushed into doing things we didn't want to do. And now we want to be authentic to who we are. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, it was hard to make a record with, it seemed like, 4 people who are sort of on 4 different pages.
Yeah. It's a tricky age. I mean, 18, 19 is a really tricky age. You're naturally feeling rebellious, and we had a lot to rebel against, and we were taking the opportunity to do so. It was very conflicting time. We knew we were lucky, but we were also very angry about a lot of things that had happened to us, but knew that if we let it out too much, we would lose all these opportunities. It was just a really tough time being that age, and I think experiencing that stuff.
Do you remember the meeting with Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind?
Of course. That's my other party trick.
I mean, here I'm going to have to be careful because I don't want to get sued, but I'll tell you what I remember. I remember thinking he was an absolute piece of shit. I remember that we were sitting there in the Sunset Marquee outdoor restaurant, and I'm not going to...
And the Chateau Marmont.
Right.
The Chateau.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say the celebrity, but he's like, oh, look, there's so-and-so. It was a very, very famous actress. Hey, there's so-and-so. And he kind of looked at us all. Did
he actually say that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
In front of, and I'm like, dude, are you kidding? You're in a bunch of like, I just was like.
It's funny because in retrospect, now I have to remind myself that I was young, but like as a person who's done a lot of like work on myself and has done a lot of therapy and a lot of like reading, I look back and like the bare feet were the giveaway. He was walking around the hotel in bare feet. Like I think he was having a moment, like, and we happened to witness it. It just seemed like he seemed lost.
Okay, but do you remember the other part of that? Do you remember the other part of that?
The documentary? Yeah, I remember the documentary.
It's. I mean, I'm glad you remember. So otherwise I might have think I'm just making it up. But
I know.
So he's like, hey, I just produced an album for my girlfriend. What was her name?
Vanessa Carlton.
Vanessa Carlton, who had just come off that big hit, and they were dating. And he produced a record, said, if you want to see what I'm like to work with, let's go to my room and I'll show you a bit of this documentary. So we all go up to his room. And if I remember correctly, the scene he showed us, she was crying and it was ugly and they were fighting. And I'm thinking, why are you showing us this? Like, that convinced me you're not the guy to work with. Like and I'm a big fan of that band. I mean, I've learned a long time ago, there's the art and there's the artist and they're different things. Love the art.
He's an amazing writer. And the older I get, the more I appreciate his songwriting.
Me too.
I'm like, damn, that's a crazy song. But like, I remember at the time when he showed us that documentary, I remember thinking like, are we getting punked? Because this is crazy.
Yeah, it didn't seem real. Like the way he acted, the way he talked, the whole thing. Needless to say, we were a hard pass on him. And I don't remember why we didn't work with Matthew Sweet. That doesn't even...
I don't remember either, but I think just we were really, really drawn to the appeal of working with somebody who had worked with the Killers because we loved the Killers so much and still do. And I think Jeff Saltzman just was like, oh, we can work with the guy who worked with the Killers. Let's do that because he's amazing. But yeah, I mean, Matthew Sweet would have been really great. He's so talented and that would have been a really good match. I think it would have made us a record that was very different, maybe a little bit more aligned with what we were trying to do, which may have been a benefit because a lot of what Lillix experienced was too many cooks in the kitchen. It was just too much. It was like all this paint thrown at a wall and none of it was working. And that's, I think, a huge reason why we never really succeeded is because no one ever really gave us a chance to grow as a band. We should have had a development deal at that age, not a record deal. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
looking back, it's like, of course it didn't work because no one was letting us figure out who we were. And who knows if it would have worked out. We were very different people by the end of it. But it just trying on different, it's like putting on a suit that doesn't fit you. You feel like an idiot. And I think that's a lot of what we had to experience is a lot of what I recently discovered is a term called cringe mountain. It's what Gen Z describe as having to climb up before you get to the other side, which is the land of cool. You're doing it all in public. You're humiliating yourself over and over again. And as soon as you get to the top of the peak cringe moment, then you can, gracefully fall to the other side. But we never even were given a chance to get there. It was just like too many cooks in the kitchen. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I incorporated a lot of those lessons into how I run 604 because I mean, I'll never rush people. I mean, I look at a band like Theon, who you've worked with, and like, they were what, 17 when I signed them, 18?
I think they were 16. They were super young.
They were super young, super sheltered, super protected, and I was talking to them fairly recently. Because like now they're starting to, I don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, suddenly they've had a couple of pretty big hits. They have a song that's, I think, still number 2 in Canada right now.
Amazing. Yeah, that's great.
And, I remember them saying to me, like, why do you think it took so long? And I was like, well, because it's what you were writing about at the time. You had no life experience. And so that kind of limits what you can write about. Like, here we are 6 years later, 7 years later, whatever it is, you've experienced, boyfriends. You've experienced dumping people, getting dumped, having sex, doing drugs, getting drunk.
A pandemic.
I mean, you've had life experience. So suddenly you're writing songs that are resonating. You were always there musically. I think it was just lyrically, it was a bit limited because your life experience was a bit limited. And now it isn't. And it's been so nice that's the exact counter to the experience you're describing. Like, I've never shoved anything on those women. I've never said, you have to work with this person, you have to work with that person, let's try this. I've just said, do what you want. Right from day one, do what you want, having faith that they were going to get there. And so it's been very satisfying that they actually have gotten there now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, they deserve it. They're so talented. And I think that's also a testament to putting in time to figure out what your sound is. And that is something a lot of young artists potentially struggle with. They see these immediate TikTok viral videos of like a sound or a song. And I know I'm not just saying young artists, all artists do this. We listen to this stuff that's trending and we think, I need to do some 30-second clip of this really specific upper pitched voice and a whistle and a flute. And hopefully my song goes viral too. And that is great if you're looking just to achieve that. But I think that there is there's a strong argument to be made about developing bands, not even with a label, just with yourself. Give yourself time. Figure out who you are. It's very rare that a band comes out of the gate fully developed. And when they do, they take off. Of course they do. But that doesn't happen super often. No. It doesn't mean that you can't still take off after having given some time to figure out what that is.
I think that's true. Lillix eventually peters out. I mean, the second record doesn't really do anything. Tasha and Lacey tried to sort of soldier on a little bit for a few years, didn't really work. But you went a very different direction, and I feel like the experience at Maverick really shot you off with a certain kind of energy into a sort of different direction. It was almost as though you were doing everything in your power to bury that experience, at least initially. Is that accurate, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was reflecting on this the other day. I think that being in Lillix was a sort of like, there were moments where it felt like public humiliation. You know what I mean? There was a lot of like having like a big magazine like Blender basically make fun of us in a review. And people to this day still question if we played our instruments and wrote our own songs. That used to drive me crazy. I mean, I remember seeing a TikTok, I think a year ago, of a young woman sort of like doing a video about Lillix and our history, and it was relatively accurate. But one of the comments was like, there's no way this was a real band. And I was like, I'm so triggered right now. Like, I want to scream. that stuff really bothered me because I just can't get down with accepting that. I don't know. I'm a diehard feminist, essentially. I cannot accept that we would not be taken seriously. That definitely motivated me to make sure that people were going to take me seriously. So I rejected everything I'd ever learned, and I did everything the hard way, the hardest, most confusing, grinding way it possibly could, just to get what I felt was respect or paying my dues. And in retrospect, I'm like, what the was I doing? Like, some of it was great and some of it was a waste of my time. But it's funny how having those experiences really does dictate how you go about your artistic career. Chappell Roan gave a speech at the Grammys this year. I don't know if you saw it, when she accepted one of her awards. And I love Chappell Roan. I think she's one of my favorite writers. I love her. And she said in her speech, basically, F you to her former label who had dropped her at the age of 18 or whatever. And she had to go back home, move back in with her parents, having spent however many years in LA, essentially doing what we had done, without any experience, with no life experience. She hadn't been able to graduate high school. She hadn't been able to find a first job. She had no experience, nothing. She'd given her life to this thing. And that's exactly what happened to us as well. We would give in our entire lives. I hadn't even graduated high school when I left the band. We didn't have time. Like, we did not have time to finish it. So to be dropped from the label so dismissively and then having to navigate how to live life again, only having skills that worked in a room full of, 45-year-old businessmen, I was like, I don't know how the to do this. I feel so confused. And I think that's that also really had an impact about how I conducted my life a little bit oddly, a little bit more hard than it should have been, I think.
Yeah, you were always hard on yourself, really hard on yourself. And I mean, because I believed in you and still do. I mean, I brought you on board to the Light Organ imprint and you made some great records. You got nominated a couple of times for Polaris Awards. You were able to establish yourself as a real serious sort of artist. You've done some pretty interesting things with other people. And there was a reason I always hire you as a producer and it's often with female artists, because I feel like that experience you had is so valuable to be able to share with other female artists, and male artists. But, your experience was so uniquely kind of female, given everything that happened at Maverick and everything. And I'm trying to think of who you've done records. I mean, we've put out a bunch of your records, but you've also produced stuff for Toddy. You've produced stuff for who else on our
Hotel Mira.
Oh, I forgot about the Hotel Mira.
Matthias, Molly,
Molly Annell,
Michaela Slinger. I've worked with Jody Glenham a lot. I have done, Matthias Rodin.
You have co-write on an Orville Peck song that keeps getting licensed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I mean, you've done a lot of interesting things since then. You worked at CBC.
Mm-hmm. How
do you feel these days about the music thing? Like, where's your head at in terms of what you want to be doing, if anything, in that world now?
Having a kid really changes your perspective, as you know. And just having, I don't know, just arriving at 40 this year, a lot of reflecting on my health and how I conduct my daily life, and my career. It's very funny because no matter what I do, no matter how practical I can tell myself to be, I still just want to sit down on my computer and write songs. That's the only thing I like to do. I really don't care about anything else. I try to get into cooking. I try getting into whatever outdoor thing. I don't care about anything but music and my kid and my family, obviously. So for me, it just seems very natural that I'll just continue. I would love to produce for people. I don't have any ambition of going over the moon and, opening up $100 million studio so I could do so. People can find me if they want to work with me. That's kind of my approach. I've been lucky enough to work with artists on your label enough times that I have enough work out there, and I will continue to do that, hopefully. I think I just want to keep making music. I've also wanted to compose for film my whole life. I would like to start learning how to do that. And I think what I really know to be true, though, is I don't like listening to other people. I like doing things for myself. And I'm not toying with the idea of starting my own label per se, but I have music I would like to release soon on what I'm going to just call my own imprint, because as much as I don't want to, I think learning the business side of it a little bit more thoroughly will really be beneficial to how I do things and just keep making art. That's all I love to do. And I think that the music industry, having stuck it out this long, I've been very peripheral, I haven't really been involved. I'm not a big success. No one really knows who I am except for 10 people. And that's okay. But I've seen enough to know that it's ever changing. It's never the same. It's never personal. And the minute you think that you failed or succeeded, 10 minutes later, it will change. The music industry is a toddler. It doesn't know what it's doing, and it will always continue to go through phases. So all I can do is consistently make music, release it, make my own art, and really, what more could you possibly want? It would be great to tour cool places again, but having a kid really just makes that not a priority to me unless it's really worth my time. And it's just a whole new world. It's just totally different. I'm taking a totally different approach and allowing myself just to do stuff again for fun.
Is it nice living near your parents?
I actually haven't even seen them yet since I got here. Since I saw them once, but they live about an hour away, and they have not been home themselves for the entire time.
Oh, I didn't realize it was that far away from you.
Yeah, it's an hour. I live in the middle of nowhere. It's actually amazing.
Do you live close to Kessie?
No. Well, I live the same distance to Kessie. But here on the island, it's interesting. Since moving here and before moving here, there is a very big separation of the middle island from the southern island, which is Victoria and then the peninsula where my parents are. But in the middle island, where I am, the Cowichan Valley, it's separated by the Malahat. And the Malahat is a big mental thing because it's an awful highway. When the weather's bad, it shuts down. It's very dangerous. So it's only an hour drive. For me, that's not that bad. But sometimes it can take up to 3 hours. So it's kind of the mental separation of where I live compared to other places is a little further. But ultimately, again, I've been commuting around Vancouver by bus for my entire adult life. Taking an hour in transit isn't a big deal to me. So I just have a different perspective, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Well, geez, we kind of really went through history here, didn't we?
Yeah. I feel like I've read my own diaries. It's great.
Anything I didn't touch on that you want to?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think it's been, that's it's funny going through the extensive history. I don't really talk to people a lot about it in depth because a lot of the time, like you said, I don't remember if some of this stuff was real because it's so crazy. The stuff that we had seen in my life is so different now. And I think really ultimately, I'm grateful for the time I got to be in that side of the industry. I'm really glad. I kind of want to be there again in a different context. I say context a lot these days. I think it's part of turning 40, but I really, really, I'm glad I got to go through that. I think I have a perspective not a lot of people do because I think I've seen a lot of it. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen a lot of it. And I think ultimately it's just, I'm really glad that I get to do music in my life, even if I don't always get paid for it.
Well, I will say you're one of my favorite people, not just in the music business, but just one of my favorite people. And you've been a blessing for me in my life and Jennifer. I know we both feel that way.
Aww.
I'm getting a little choked up.
Aw. Oh, you actually are. Oh, wow. That's really sweet. Are you going to edit this out?
Nah.
Or are you going to keep it? You should keep it.
We'll leave it in.
You should keep it.
We'll leave it in. I know. I have a reputation of being I'm not supposed to. I find as I've gotten old, that happens more. I'll just sort of be struck by something and kind of go, I mean, even something stupid some stupid YouTube clip about, a soldier coming home to his kids or something. It's just like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I get that. I know. Since having a kid, I've become way more emotional.
But I mean,
Got
that
used to
was, it was obviously an experience, the whole Lillix thing that really colored a lot of your subsequent life. Me too. I mean, I learned so much. And like I said, some of it's stuff that I, to this day, kick myself about. Not too much anymore. I mean, you can't change stuff that's already happened, but,
yeah.
I certainly learned a lot and applied. I tried my best to apply those lessons to running a label now. Cause I mean, I don't want people to have experiences like we had. I don't want people to feel about their career choice. Okay. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this. Just as a little promo, Louise Burns, all her stuff on all the streaming platforms. You could get it anywhere. She's got 4 albums for us, 3 albums, 4 albums, 5 albums.
5.
They're all amazing. They're all worth listening to. 2 are Polaris long list nominated, but they're all really, really good. So please go check Louise out. And okay, everybody, thank you so much. That's another episode of I Hate Simkin.
I hate Simkin.